There's a lot of things you could talk about here for the next 3 hours about him.
We all just believed in each other, like Coach Tressel said.
I'd be willing to bet every player who's ever played for him, every secretary ever worked under him, every coach he's ever coached with, he knows what college and high school they went to.
He steps in the room, he commands attention. Not on purpose, it's just he has that ability.
Coach Tressel, or Jim Tressel, he likes to be called Jim.
That tie, the knot on his tie, sometimes I think it's choking him.
The encouraging thing was that over half of the people were wearing red and white.
His general concern is for other people.
That is just his makeup. He always tried to be a father figure, no matter what.
And he doesn't keep a foot in any place except where he is.
He always challenged his team with 3 things after every game. He told us to worship somewhere, he told us to call our parents, tell them we love them, and ultimately, remember who you are.
Growing up, he went from Menor to Massillon to Berea. When he was at Massillon, a guy named Ducky Schroeder told a story. He was on the staff for many years at Massillon. They were at the kitchen table, and Ducky told me, he said, Jim was about 4 or 5, 6 years old, and he said, we were sitting there talking about the upcoming game plan, and looked in, and looking around the edge of the couch was Jim Tressel. And he said, you knew then and there, this guy had football was in his blood.
You had to earn the right to play. You were expected to take your academics very seriously.
You know, Jim was a quarterback. He was a 4-year letterman. One game when we were, I believe, juniors or sophomores, I had forgot my shoes. And Coach Tressel made Jim give me his shoes, which I still deny to this day, but he says that's what happened, but I don't remember it that way. I played better with his shoes on, yes, sir. Jim always competed, and you see that with the way he is today, or the way he coached, he was a fierce competitor. But again, always under control. That was always the way he was, and still is.
In 1981, Coach McPherson hired me at Syracuse University, and he was still with the Browns at the time, and I went to meet Coach McPherson in Cincinnati. The Browns were playing the Bengals, and when I walked in, I walked up, and he was standing with a young man who looked like one of the Beatles, long hair, sideburns, and I said, whoa, this isn't the guy I thought it was going to be. But Coach McPherson said to me, he has greatness written all over him, and he had known him from Berea. He said, this kid's going to be one of the great ones. And that premonition by Coach Mack was pretty true. Fortunately, we lived near each other in Syracuse, and we spent some time getting to the airport, and we were on offense together. And then he left and went to Ohio State in '82, and '83 I left and went to San Diego State. We all got fired at San Diego State, and he got the Youngstown State job.
A new kid on the block really has a tough time, especially in this town. We're native oriented, and consequently they have to take you in, and Jim really was smart enough to take Youngstown in and allow Youngstown to be part of a family.
Based on that, and everything kind of fell into place. I mean, that transcended into our program.
You don't know what it takes until you get there, and you can look back and say, oh, that's what it took. It took 7 straight seasons of being 8-3 or 9-2 or whatever. I don't know.
Probably the biggest thing is when he started the state of Youngstown. It gave us all purpose.
Our first season was nothing to remember, and then from that point on, I mean, geez, it was just a remarkable run.
We're proud of you. Hey, we're gonna get some big ass rings now.
You knew what to expect. You can almost guess what play was going to be called because you've been practicing it.
Never seen him panic, and he just kept on going. He believed in us, we believed in him.
It was a humbling thing to watch yourself throw a touchdown pass and get a negative grade on the play.
There were teams that we had that I think that we even won a national championship with that probably were not the most talented teams. He had the ability to take each individual player and see what they're capable of doing and pull it out of them and get us to perform together as a team.
The rubber match goes to the Youngstown State Penguins and Jim Tressel.
Every time you get in trouble, you get a flag or something, you got to do some stadium steps. You got to run to the top of the stadium probably once or twice. I had 3 more yards to break the record for the all-time leading rusher at Youngstown State. So Tress put me in for 1 more play, about 30, and I ended up getting about a 35-yard touchdown. And at that point, they had a chair in the end zone called the best seat in the house. So I scored a touchdown. I ran to the chair, guy got out the chair, flicked the lazy boy up. 1,000 penalties came out. For that one, I got about 15 stadium steps.
When he was at Youngstown, Coach would always go out and do some sprints before the game. He would go out and test the turf and the field and make some cuts. And as coaches, we would always kind of watch as the assistants to see if Coach ever kicked into a back pedal. And if Coach kicked into a back pedal, that game was for real. And you better make good calls and you better be sharp because it was a serious game.
He's sort of a Johnny Carson, you know. He lets you stumble through it while he sits there and sets you up, and he will sit and just let 2 coaches go at it, the Republican, Democrat, and just sit there and throw barbs at each one of you and let you just go at each other, and he'll just enjoy it, like, come on, you guys. But he's the guy that started the whole deal.
You know, he's like, hey, I don't know anything about kicking. I know about holding. Truth is, he knew nothing about holding. You know, but he's my head coach, so I have to appease him and tell him, you know, so he'd be over there working with the holders, and he's down on one knee trying to tell them what to do, and then, you know, we'd all just shake our heads, yeah, good job, you know, thanks for that, and then he would leave, and then we'd really fix it and do what we had to do.
We just beat Florida A&M to get to the national championship here at home. The theme song that year was We Ready. So we would play it before every game to get ourselves hyped up. Well, in the locker room after the game, we're all excited, just won, getting ready to go to the national championship, and we're playing the song. Everyone's dancing, and here comes this white polo, and it's jumping up and down, and it's Coach Tressel doing like a gorilla dance in the middle of everybody, and that's when everybody, it just made that moment that much more special because he just kind of came out of his shell and just let it all out.
Well, there was a bunch, but probably one of the best ever was when we were at Georgia Southern playing, and they had described to him this magic water in Eagle Creek. And you know, him being him, we left and he didn't say anything, and I happened to be sitting near him on the bus, and he pulls the bus over on what was like a small cliff, and he calls me Carmenooch, so he says, come on, we got to go get some water. And I said, what are you doing? So next thing you know, he's in a suit, of course, you know, and I'm in whatever. So we bounce off the bus, everybody's looking out the window, we go down, then you can't see us anymore. We're down in Eagle Creek getting water in a little container that he had. So, you know, because he wanted to bring the magic back to us, so, and sprinkle it on our end zones, and of course you had Kenny Knatzer who was going to be the enforcer and do all that, and then next you know, we filled it up. Then on the way thing, he says, now you have to go to the Mahoning River and get some of our water and mix it. I said, oh, I don't even know how to get to the Mahoning River, you know what I mean? So I had to go get my old buddy, the ex-equipment manager, Chubby Scott, who used to swim in the Mahoning River. And so we actually went down and got it. We dragged that water with us for years till it just finally evaporated.
They need to hear that when they get off the bus, when they come home. They need to hear that in their churches. They need to hear that everywhere, and this is just one more chance to keep bombarding them with the fact that we care.
His compassion for community service is as good as I've ever seen in a human being. He is willing to give of himself 100% so you can have the benefits for the good of the group.
He gives without consideration. You know, he just says, hey, let's do it. It's the right thing to do.
The Wounded Warrior Project, the veterans groups, the guys coming back from Afghanistan and Iraq, the cancer center where he raised money through his mother's thing, the Children's Hospital, the Ronald McDonald House.
Go do all of those things, and if not a single person but those people know about it, it's the greatest deal in the world. And I think that's a blessing of Coach.
You know, look at the Watts Center right now. I mean, nobody understands. Jim Tressel wanted that when he was here forever. So what did he do? He kept it in mind, and he got us that facility. Look what he's doing for Ray.
It's unbelievable the things he does. You know, I mean, as far as if you need a dollar, if you need, you need food, you need whatever, Jim Tressel will be there for you.
He's always going to give back. He's always going to do things that, when people not looking, he's still doing those type of things.
Even when he left here and was at Ohio State, he was still doing things all the time here in the community. Never forgot about that.
Around Coach, I learned that it was okay to tell a player that you loved them. It was okay to tell a fellow coach that you loved them. It was okay really to care about people more than yourself.
Caring for the kids and wanting them to graduate and to go back in their communities and do good things in their communities.
My career was a little different. I mean, when I came in there, I came in from Ohio State and I thought I was the guy. You know what I mean? And I didn't do the right things, and Jim Tressel put me in my place the right way.
Even though my grades wasn't right, he was willing to stick there to the bitter end for me. I don't know if I had to drive to go to school without football, but he was a guy that prodded me and pushed me all the way through.
I used to make this comment with among some of my team members is that, we all walk away with a little Tressel in us.
He's had a great faith in God, and while he keeps that under wraps, it's something that I think that, it's been his salvation, I'm sure.
I can tell you this, between 5 and 6 o'clock, he's going to do a devotion by himself with his door open about 3 inches. If you don't have an emergency, do not bother him. He leaves the door open just enough that if you got a real problem, come on in.
Selfless concern for other people.
Anyone who spends time with him is better for it.
He's one that always just believes in people.
Just made everybody better.
Tress is as close as a consistent, caring person that you'll get.
If you gave a multiple choice test to all the coaches in America, hell, they'd all pass it. But the part that Jim passes, you don't grade.
There's no one better.
It's his ability to work with people and get the most out of people.
He lives by his word, he lives by his actions. He's a very Christian, spiritual guy, and he's a great example for how you should live your life.